What is up, everybody? Welcome to Truth and Transparency. Happy Monday. Idaho4, we got one for you today. This will be talked about for a long time, I believe. This is an Idaho4 episode, 11:30 p.m. Xana to Dad, the domino that ruins everything for the roommates, the state's case. Let's talk about it. Okay, now, when you're an investigator, right, you're putting together a timeline. You're supposed to be interviewing pertinent people. It is now, in my opinion, one of the most pertinent people in this investigation would be Jeff Kernodle. Wait, why, Lana? Because Jeff came to town the weekend before the murders to spend time. That weekend was Idaho's parents' weekend. So he spent time with Xana. That was her weekend. Xana's sister went to WSU. So Jeff got a rental vehicle. So he flies in, he gets a rental vehicle the week before the homicides. He keeps that rental vehicle the entire week because he is going to stay in town until he has his other daughter's parents' weekend, which was the weekend of the murders. So with that said, that means that, think about it, if you're a parent, you would have done the same thing. You would have come in town for the one. You're not going to leave, fly out, fly back. No, I'm going to make a week of it. Okay. So I'm going to come in town that Friday, the week prior, hang out with Xana and do her week, and then I'm going to have a week there, and I'm sure I'm going to see my kids, right? And then I have the weekend where I'm with Xana's sister, because that's her weekend, and that's the weekend of the murders. So Jeff is somebody that you'd want to be talking to about, hey, did Xana say anything to you leading up to and during that week? How often did you see her? Explain what happened, like when you were here for parents' weekend. Then you stayed that week. Then let's talk about that weekend. I'm going to play this clip for you guys.
All I know is I was 7 miles away when it happened, and
all I know is I was 7 miles away when it happened.
All I know is I was 7 miles away when it happened, and she wasn't feeling that good. It was 11:30, and
she wasn't feeling that good. It was 11:30. First question is I want you to pay attention to Payne's reaction. Okay. Xana wasn't feeling that good. It was 11:30. How does he know this? That's the first question I have. How does he know this?
All I know is I was 7 miles away when it happened, and she wasn't feeling that good. It was 11:30, and I almost went over to Susanna's to say, and I would have been sitting right there on that couch, and you had to deal with me. So they would have had a chance, and I regret that. I regret not going, but the reason why I didn't is because Xana said, don't be drinking and driving. You got the rental car, don't be drinking and driving, the week before that. So she...
Right there. Lana, how do you know that he stayed, and how do you know that he had a rental car? Well, because what Xana said is don't be drinking and driving with this rental car. And she said that the week before, the weekend of her parents' weekend, he stays. Okay. And that's when she said that. Xana said that to her dad the weekend of her parents' weekend. Okay. Which was the weekend before. And that's when he's saying that she said that. It wasn't like she said that to him that night. She said that to him, when he had gotten the rental. So that'd be like a week prior. So again, if you don't think that Jeff is a pertinent person to talk to, did your daughter mention anything to you while you were there? I mean, don't you think you would want to have an interview with somebody that was in town? A parent who was in town the weekend before, during that whole week, and then the weekend of. And then what is he talking about at 11:30? Xana wasn't feeling well. How does he know this? Was this in a text? Did they communicate on the phone? Did they talk on the phone? Was it a text? 11:30 at night. Where is that in the state's timeline? That Xana wasn't feeling well per her dad at 11:30 at night. Where is that in the state's timeline? It's not there. Why? Why wouldn't it be there? You don't think that that's pertinent? Because I'm going to tell you why it's pertinent. Somebody that doesn't feel well, they tell their parents that for a couple of different reasons. They truly aren't feeling well, number one. Number two, it's to get out of something. Okay. It's to cover for something. Like if I got in a fight with my boyfriend, hey, you know what? I'm just not feeling that well. I'm just going to lay low, stay home. So I don't know about tomorrow, like plans as far as like grabbing like brunch or lunch or whatever before you leave type of thing. Or it's the truth that she wasn't feeling that well. But was it even Xana? Because if it was a text message, anybody could make that text. And it's interesting to me that Dylan, out of all the parents, right? She's like, I know Xana's dad, Jeff. I know his name's Jeff. She didn't know Kaylee's parents' name. She didn't know Maddie's mom's name. But she knew Jeff. I don't know about you guys, but do you have your parents saved under mom and dad in your phones? Some kids save it as both. It would have like their name and then, you know, mom. But was Dylan around Jeff that week? Did he come over? Was he around? How often was he at the house? Between the time that he got in town? Like what was he doing that week during the weekends? During the week, the weekdays?
She was she would have been mad at me to do that, but I really wish I would have drunk and drove, you know, because they would have had a chance, all four of them.
So again, this 11:30 is just mind blowing to me because when I'm not feeling well, I'm not ordering Jack in the Box at 2:15.
I know that's 7 miles away when it happened. And she wasn't feeling that good. It was 11:30 and I almost went over to Susanna's to stay. And I would have been sitting right there on that couch and you had to deal with.
I almost went over to Xana's to stay. And you would have been dealing with me. So was it a plan all along? Was Jeff supposed to, hey, I'm going to come and spend the night over here on Saturday with you. That way we'll wake up. I'll have, you know, breakfast with you. And then I'm going to then take off to wherever he flew in, Spokane, or I don't know if he came into Pullman. But something is terribly off with this. Okay. In my opinion, something is terribly off with this. That on the night of the murders, or, you know, 11:30, because technically it's still the 12th. Why is Jeff saying that Xana wasn't feeling well? And don't you think that this would be very, very important for the police? Wait, you talked to your daughter last night? Mm-hmm. or she texted me, or like, what was the communication? Was it a text? Was it a call? This matters because anybody can text and it not be you. But Jeff is going to know his daughter, okay? Did they talk on the phone? Was it a call? Was it a text? This is so important because the police straight up asked these roommates if they knew the passcodes into their roommates' phones. And no, I don't. I call bullshit. Thank you so much there. Cat, Black Cat, and Jam gifted 10 Truth and Transparency memberships. Black Cat and Jam. Good afternoon, Lana, my doll. I made a live. Hello, fellow mods and the lovely family in chat. If you turned green right here, give it up, Karen. Karen turns you green. But this is really problematic. This is a huge problem for the state. This is a huge problem for this narrative of ordering food at 2:15. Now, again, college kids, let's not kid ourselves. We've lied to our parents before, okay, to get out of something. So if I got into a fight with my boyfriend and my dad's expecting for me and my boyfriend to show up at, we're all supposed to be going to get brunch or lunch before he goes and flies to go back to Arizona. I'm going to say that I'm not feeling well to get out of it because he's going to wonder why Ethan's not with me, something like that. And I don't want to deal with that. I don't want to answer that. I'm really upset about something that's happening, and you're going to keep that from your parents. That's normal. That happens. So the police, though, would get to the bottom of that. You're going to sit here and tell me that my roommates would have known in college for me if I was planning on going to breakfast with my parents in the morning, because my parents are always about like, hey, do any of the girls want to come? Because everyone, like, when they know parents are in town, it's like a free meal. So everybody hops on that. But there's also times that my mom or dad would be like, I just want it to be us, I just want to spend time with you. So, but my roommates would have known that I had plans to go, because they would have been like asking me about like something like, hey, we're all going to go to, Uncle Woody's and do kegs and eggs. Oh, I'm going to go with my mom. I'm going to go do brunch with her before she leaves. I'll see you guys back at the house. Okay, cool. We talk, we communicate. And in back when I was in school, text messaging just became a thing, and it was like an annoying thing back then. It was like, dude, why are you texting me this? Just call me. I'm not going to sit here and text all this shit. And now texting is just like, boom, boom, boom. You can get, you can do it so quickly. So for me to watch Payne and to watch Payne right here and to watch Gilbertson right here listening to this, okay, do I think that they know all of this is true? Like, do they have any like weird look on their face when he's explaining this?
All I know is I was 7 miles away when it happened. And
that's the only part that I, like when Payne looks, he like kind of like looks over to the left. Like,
all I know is I was 7 miles away when it happened. And she wasn't feeling that good. It was 11:30. And I almost went over to Susanna's to say, and I would have been sitting right there on that couch, and you had to deal with me. So they would have had a chance.
And then Payne, I don't know if he looks over, if he's looking at Brian to see a reaction, And
I regret that. I regret not going. But the reason.
And then that look away when he hears like this regret. I think that's more of like a reaction to Jeff having to live with that, That's what I see from Gilbertson with that move. He doesn't look at Brian. He just.
So they would have had a chance. And I regret that. I regret not going. But the reason why I didn't is because Xana.
Right there. The reason that I didn't, and it piques both of their interests. Watch.
That. And I regret not going. But the reason why I didn't.
See that quick The reason that I didn't, and then they're so alert. Oh, what?
And I regret that. I regret not going. But the reason why I didn't is because Xana said, don't be drinking and driving. You have to rent a car, don't be drinking and driving, the week before that. So she was, she would have been mad at me to do that. But I really wish I would have drunk and drove, because they would have had a chance, all four of them.
Okay, so from the chat here, watching this exchange with Payne and Gilbertson, listening to Xana's dad, do you think that this is anything new that they've heard? Okay. Is this anything new? Are they hearing this for the first time? And I'm over here like playing devil's advocate with myself, as I always do, to look at the other side, like, what the heck? And I'm just like, Xana wasn't feeling well at 11:30? Did she say that to keep her dad from not coming there? Because like that was her way of like, but that would actually make him want to come there. Like, hey, are you okay? Like, no, I'm just not feeling well. So I'm going to go to bed early. And then, so yeah, we'll meet up in the morning for brunch. Or my dad was going to come and like hang out with us, like really at like midnight. And this is my way of like, I'm not feeling that well. So, you're planning on coming here. Just don't worry about coming here. Just come here in the morning. But I'm like, but let's go back to this whole not feeling well at 11:30. Where was Xana when she wasn't feeling well? Nobody knows where Xana is at as far as the people in the home. They all say that Xana wasn't home. They never saw her come home. They weren't up when she was home. And here, it's like, then you have people at the Sigma Chi house trying to say that, like, yeah, we saw Xana until, X amount of time. And then you have Bethany, who's supposedly saying, yeah, I saw Xana in Ethan and Peter's room by themselves. Nobody else was in there, though. Very strange. To be in somebody else's apartment when, like, the person that's, like, the actual apartment that it belongs to wasn't in there. But then Dylan's talking about, I saw Xana at 12:15 with a White Claw. And I'm just like, I'm like, how do we have all these different stories? Where was Xana at 11:30? We know that Xana wasn't at Allie's at 12:15 with a White Claw in her hand. Lana, how do we know that? Well, I'm gonna go with Natalie. I'm gonna go with Kennedy Fitzgerald here. And November 14th, her interview. I'm gonna go with that. It's her house. She's like, Xana was not at my house on Saturday. I did not see Xana that evening. She was not at my house. So why wouldn't the police, when they're making this amazing timeline, and even for the defense, where's the defense? Don't you think that, I don't know, Ann Taylor would want to talk to Jeff, or be maybe putting in a third-party subpoena to see if you can get the records of Jeff Kernodle's cell phone to see what the heck this is all about? Because I'm telling you, Either Xana said it, Xana didn't say it, okay? And then was it true? Like, one of these are all true. Something's true. Was it a text message or was it a phone call? If it was a text message, did Xana even send it? And then if she wasn't feeling well, then why would she ever be ordering at 2:15 in the morning from her phone Jack in the Box? And if she's not feeling well and she was home and she was, I'm going to bed early, then why is the Lakeland McComas talking about the fact that when she went there to use the bathroom on the second floor and is taking pictures in there, and she's like, there's nobody else home. I could tell you this, if I'm going to go home and go to bed early, I'm closing my door if I live on that second floor in that party house. My door's going to be closed. But we should all be asking ourselves the most important question, which is, how did they not get to the bottom of this? This is the easiest thing to get to the bottom of. For example, let's go ahead and put it in here on the timeline for ourselves at 11:30. Right here. Bethany sends Maddie a Snapchat, unknown contents at 11:14. 11:20. Here, I'm gonna do it like this. This is why I don't think it got put there. We're gonna use Hector. Oops. This all matters because of the time of the crime. I don't know what the hell Hector's doing over here, but Hector, you're gonna have to be fired. We'll have to come back to Hector. But I'm gonna tell you why they didn't hot damn. Oh wait, here we go. Found you, Hector. Oh, there we go. Right here. At 11:30, what would come next? Dylan sees Xana for the last time at Allie's. Xana's holding a White Claw. So they chose Dylan's narrative over Jeff's narrative. Take a look at that. This is supposed to be 12:04 when Dylan's in her little interview. Dylan sees Xana for the last time at Allie's. Xana's holding a White Claw. Everybody's holding White Claws, according to Dylan. But if you put in 11:30, right in between that, you have Jeff telling you that Xana wasn't feeling well. Xana was not feeling well. Where's that? Why doesn't that make the police's, pertinent? This is their shit. Come on, guys. Dylan didn't see fucking Xana, right? So here we have Dylan again extending the life of Xana. this is what makes me then question who texted Jeff at 11:30. If in fact he received a text at 11:30, who sent that text from Xana's phone? If they talked, that's different. But we all know how kids are. I guarantee you that would probably be a text message. Because if Jeff actually texted her and said, hey, are we still good tomorrow morning? We'll do brunch. Either you're going to come this way or we're going to come that way, right? So, but I don't care. Talk, text, don't give a shit. Why isn't it on the police timeline? Then Jeff says it at sentencing. So, and this is written. He's reading from his script. So, anybody out there saying he's mistaken, this didn't happen on that night? No, you're wrong. Then I want you to come out and say that Jeff is a liar at sentencing. Okay. Jeff isn't in some cahoots. Jeff is speaking the truth at his daughter's sentencing hearing. And that's a problem for me that Xana wasn't feeling well at 11:30. Because was it a text message or was it a phone call? And why wouldn't the police look into it? Jeff is Xana's dad. If you don't know who Jeff is at this point in the case, and it's 2026, this was a 2022 case, yeah, I think you're probably on the wrong channel. Jeff is not in Arizona time. When Jeff was there, he was not in Arizona time. He was on WSU time. He's at WSU. They have the same time zones. I believe Jeff. I believe that Jeff knows that if he talked to his daughter or not that night. Now, when I say talk, communicated, text, or a phone call, I personally believe it was a text. So, I'm not feeling well. I'm not feeling that good. If Xana's roommates knew that there's a potential for Jeff to actually be coming to that house, that he could be potentially coming to that house to like meet up. He's going to come here instead of, I told him not to get a hotel room that night. Here, just come and stay here your last night. You don't have to, spend another night in the hotel. Just come here and then stay here. And then you can then travel out the next day. Like we'll get brunch and then you can leave. If any of those roommates heard that, thought that could potentially be a thing, it would make really good sense why you would pick up the phone and send a text message to Jeff as Xana, wouldn't it? As Xana, you're sending a text message to do what? Well, I might not be good to go tomorrow morning because I don't feel well. Also, for that night, I'm just calling it a night, going to bed. If it was a text, you're keeping Jeff away from the house. You understand? That's what you're doing. You're keeping him away. You're going to sit here and tell me that the cops never looked into this? Why are they asking the question, did you have your roommates' passwords to their phones, their passcodes? Why are you asking that in the first place? There's only one answer for that. Literally one answer for that is because what? you're trying to see if it was even possible for them to get into the phones. That's why you're asking that. That's crazy. Why are you even thinking that? Why are you even thinking that? Well, because stuff isn't making sense, right? Yes, Lana, stuff is not making sense. That's exactly why they're thinking that. Okay, so right here, we should see the Jeff and Xana, whether it was a text or a call. AZ time is different in November because Moscow, yep, 1000%. It is different. I'm not saying that it wasn't different. He just wasn't in Arizona, guys. He was in Washington. Jeff Kernodle was in Washington at WSU, which is the same time zone. He got in town the weekend before to hang out with Xana for her parents' weekend. Okay. And then the next weekend was Jasmine's. So he stayed the entire week. Okay. He gets there the first weekend, hangs out with Xana, and does her parents' weekend. He doesn't leave to go to Arizona and then come back. He stays there that whole week. That would be the most important person to talk to see if did your daughter seem upset? Did she tell you anything? When did you see her? Who was she with? Things like that. And then she called you or she texted you the night before. What night? What was she saying? And now there's talks about it was the wrong night. Yeah, that was talks back during the investigation that he got the day confused. Okay. This is at the sentencing when you actually prepare your speech. Okay. And you prepare your speech. And so do I believe that he's going to get up there at that podium and lie about all of this and say that Xana didn't somehow reach out and say this to him and that he wasn't contemplating going there? But I don't understand what Xana not feeling well would have, I'm going to head over there. But then I remember what Xana had said, and don't drink and drive, from when I got the rental car at the beginning of the week. So what I think that he told police is just that, yeah, she told me she wasn't feeling well and I thought about going there, but obviously I'm not going to drink and drive. I think that that's what he told the police, right? When you're talking to the police, which we know that Jeff and Jasmine went to the station. They actually showed up at the house. Then they went down to the station and they were interviewed. Exactly. He wasn't lying. He was devastated. And then he writes this and he says this at sentencing. And so if I'm building a timeline, I have to put Jeff and Xana on this timeline. And I want to know why the police didn't put this on their timeline. Everybody should be asking that question. Why didn't the police right here at 11:30 put the Jeff and Xana communication, whether it was text or talk, on the timeline? Hold on one second. Okay. All right. I like this one. This one says Brian wouldn't have any knowledge that Jeff was around, but other people would. Yep, sure would. But it's a simple question. Why didn't the police feel the need to put If you're going to put that Dylan saw Xana for the last time at Allie's at 12:04 with a White Claw, why are they, really? When you but you interviewed Fitzgerald, who lived at that house, and said that Xana was never there. Where's that? Just right in parentheses. But this is contradicted by the person that, I don't know, rents the home and was there. No person, not Bethany contradicts it. Bethany was there. Bethany didn't see Xana there. In fact, Bethany puts Xana in the Sigma Chi house when Dylan's putting Xana in the treehouse. So with this should come like so many like little bullet points that says, here's all these contradictions though. Bethany contradicts Dylan, the Kennedy Fitzgerald. And then as far as I'm concerned, I think that Jeff contradicts Dylan. Now we've all seen the autopsies and we see that what Xana, she was drinking. Okay. You can be drinking and then, dude, I don't feel good. Now think about this. If Xana was drinking, okay, because at the time of death or right there around it, Xana was what, at a point, what was it, 0.22 or something? I said, God, she's drinking, so it would be fine that she doesn't feel well, right? I said, but is this a death that's happening closer to when Xana would have been like actually like drinking a decent amount, right? And not where she wouldn't have been drinking from like 11 or midnight until 4. That's 4 hours. 4 hours to get that blood alcohol content down. And then I said, but if I believe somebody could have used the cell phone at 2:15 to place the DoorDash order, then why couldn't I believe that somebody could have used the phone to place the text message to Jeff? And who's the one person that knows the name Jeff and doesn't know any of the other parents' names? Dylan. Listen to Dylan's interview. Dylan's interview with Gooch. Doesn't know Kaylee's parents' names, doesn't know anybody's parents' names, except she knows Jeff. It's the same thing in the Brian Drake case. Eldora Gatchell and her brother used and made a outgoing call from Brian Drake's cell phone. Made it seem like it was after they left in the pilot, which they didn't leave in. Or at least one of them didn't leave in. They placed the phone call, and then there's that 7 to 9 minute phone call with Jennifer Drake on Brian Drake's cell phone, which again is extending Brian Drake's life, right? And Jennifer Drake is saying that she's talking to her husband. So they're both alibying each other, meaning Jennifer Drake is alibying Eldora Gatchell and her brother. And those two, Eldora Gatchell's brother and Eldora, are, alibying Jennifer Drake by saying, when we were there to get our backs cracked and all this bullshit. Brian received a phone call. And then we left. And that's Jennifer saying, yeah, I called and Brian said, I'm still with patients. And then he called me when they left. No different here. The Idaho State Police did not learn they actually wrote it out of the playbook themselves in 2020. And now here in 2022, they're not going to out their own playbook and instead either be a participant and help with this playbook. But I see extending of life going on. If you're going to say that this is a staged crime scene, then you need to keep You need to keep looking at other things that could be staged. Okay. That's ridiculous to say that this is a staged crime scene and there's a cleanup, right? But then to shut it down at that. Why aren't you looking at the fact that anybody ordering that DoorDash, okay, could be staging something? Anybody texting anybody from people's phones, they could be staging. And everybody that's continuing to keep messing up where Ethan and Xana were, okay? Because I can't possibly believe that you think I'm going to think that Xana's home and she's alive and she's well and she's fine and she's placing an order. As Chris Holland said, we don't know where Xana was when she placed the 2:15 DoorDash order. And I'm over here like, how the fuck do you not know this? How are you peer reviewing something and you don't know that? And you have to have an answer for that. And the answer is, well, the phone records show this, or the geolocation show this. And, but to hear that we never even saw any records from anybody. I mean, what's the answer to that? Like, that's the follow-up question. What do you mean you don't know where Xana was when her phone, you have to say it's her phone that placed the order, guys. Her phone placed the DoorDash order. It does not mean that Xana placed the DoorDash order. Her phone did. So you don't know where Xana's phone was, the location that it was in, where it was at 2:15. Well, when do you think that you know where it's at? Like, at what point? Is there blood on their phones in Xana's room? These phones have any blood on them? How about that? Why is Ethan's phone next to Xana's body, but Xana's phone is in the bed? But yet she's supposedly on it doing TikTok. But then more importantly, when this DoorDash person, they think that Xana sent this, are you having trouble finding it? That didn't come from Xana's phone. Can you rule out that it came from DoorDash? DoorDash sends notifications like that when their dashers are fucking hadn't pressed the button of a delivery for over some ridiculous amount of hours. It was hour and 40 minutes, 2:15, and it's 3:54, and this DoorDash has not been delivered. 3:54, 2:15. Why don't you look at where Molly was? And if Molly was in Pullman when she clicked the button to accept the DoorDash at 2:15, why would Molly ever leave Pullman without grabbing that DoorDash? You would never do that, ever do that as a DoorDash driver. You click it, you're in Pullman. Okay, I'm gonna go to Jack in the Box, and my order's gonna be ready in 15 minutes. Maybe not even. I'm getting it, and then I'm driving to Moscow. They think that there's nothing wrong with this DoorDash order. I don't give a shit if there's a fucking bag, even if there is a picture, which we've never seen. Even if there is a picture of a bag that's next to the door and it's at 3:59, there's a picture, okay? Because let me tell you something, folks. If you go to take the picture, I take a picture, I have to do one more thing. I have to hit send. That can just be queued up in my phone. And someone like Molly, who's so forgetful and just a fucking mess, if I go to take this picture and it's just sitting there, okay? It's just sitting there and sitting there and sitting there. But then I realize that, hey, I want to go and take another order. And I go look at my phone, I go to my app, and I see that it's just still in the, it's just queued up and it hasn't been sent. And then I press it. Because Molly says that she got her next order right after she left there. And it was for her last order, which was a dorm in Pullman. And it was from Jack in the Box. And then she makes up some shit that the guys had to remake her order. They didn't think that she was coming back. It's like, coming back? What are you talking about? The only order that could be for would be for the 1122 King Road House order that they didn't think that you were coming back for. Okay. That's the only order that could be for. It could not be for the 403 or 402 order that you just picked up. And why would they ever have to remake you an order? I mean, you're going to sit here and tell me that Ann Taylor did not meticulously go through all of this bullshit about the DoorDash and about who Molly is? I find this just so hard to believe. And if she didn't, shame on her. But I think that she did, but we'll see. I should take that back. I don't think that she did, because I have people that are saying that was just a really wrong place at the wrong time type of thing that were involved in that. So I'm like, wrong place at the wrong, wait, excuse me? I'm like, no. Do you know who Molly McMichael is? Do you know her history? Do you know that? Do you just know any of that? Lana, in DM's interview, she says that she had access to MM's Where's My iPhone? Yeah. No. She was sharing. They were all sharing locations. Bethany Funk said that as well. This would be proof she has access or new passwords. No, yes. That's the Find My. She was saying that she has Find My. Find My iPhone. They also have like Find My Friends. I believe they all had iPhones. And you can also share locations with people, and you could like do it for an infinity amount of time. You can do it for just like an hour. You can do it for like 24 hours. But I think it's just laughable though. Their excuse, which was, it was like already pre-made. What does their home and safe have? That's an oxymoron to me in describing the fact that you thought somebody was in your house. A masked intruder. Okay. Hey, their phones are registering that they're here. Like I look and like, it's like, okay, like they're here, they're home, they're safe. What the fuck? No, but she's saying it perfectly to be able to attempt to trip up an investigator. It's just like, she doesn't know what she's talking about. She doesn't get it. Like, but I see what she's saying. Like, I looked and that they were home and so everything is fine. And it's like, what do their phones being at home have anything to do with if they're physically okay? They're not answering you. You don't hear any noises. You know, you normally do hear noises. So what doesn't make any sense? Just like when she says, like, we cleaned the weekend before. And so if you don't get any DNA, it's because we had parents' weekend and we thoroughly cleaned. It's like, what? And they're like, yeah, well, when did you clean? Well, we cleaned the weekend before and this just happened. So there is stuff that's left after the clean. But anybody that talks like that, you have to ask yourself, why are they even talking like that? Well, she likes to watch crime mystery movies and shit like that. Allie Tally and Black Cat and Jam buying memberships. Lil Hicks. M would have been penalized by DD for not picking up. In 2022, penalized how? I could have sworn the CW said something about the pick. Can't recall if it was on TNT or not. I don't know what. CW, who's that? When I see CW, I think of Commonwealth. So I don't know what I could have sworn CW said something about. Is that Chris Whitcomb? The person that said something about the picture was Chris Holland. And it was just that there was the picture was at the door. And my question though is did you physically see it? Yes or no? Did you physically see the picture, or is Turvey just saying, because we asked to see that and it's not there. We don't have it. You guys, at the end of the day, who do I think is involved, and why would anybody cover for anybody? You're not bringing like 30 people into some massive like conspiracy. That's not it at all. It's the undercover house, the grant money, the federal grant money that was being utilized that night to put people in plain clothing operations, which they deal with. They want to stop people for minors in possession, DUI, all this shit that they get this money for to work overtime in plain clothes. But also one of the gigs is that you can work alongside with doing controlled buys, buying and selling shit, controlled buys. And so we're going to see when we get this paperwork back what they were all doing that night, what type of operations was being utilized with this federal grant money, and how many contacts did you make that night? Because I know how many contacts we have on body-worn camera. And so if they try to sit here and say that they made some 50 to 60 to 70 contacts on the night of the murder, where are all these body-worn cameras of this happening? Why did you just elect to put some of them on body-worn camera? So when we get this report back that we're waiting for, they have to be so detailed, and they're going to talk about how many contacts that they had that night and what they were doing, because you have to be so specific with what you're using the money for. And it's going to talk about who was working it, how many hours they worked, where they went, what they were doing. And if that stuff isn't written down like that, that's a big problem. Especially if you're saying that you're using this government money, this federal money. So what it looks like is happening here is that, again, what are the odds that they only use this federal grant money 1 or 2 nights a year, and on the night that they used it for the first time in 2022, which was for the first fiscal part of the year of 2023 because it was in November, there's cars circling, right? And then there's potentially controlled buying and selling with plainclothes operations going on, and then there's a murder of 4 people. Awesome. And there's a DoorDash order coming from somebody whose father said that she wasn't feeling well at 11:30. Even if he happened to look at his phone and do all of this from his phone when he was back in Arizona, it could potentially show that it was later. So that's where the whole 12:30 could potentially come in. But 11:30, 12:30, honestly, why would somebody that's feeling sick order Jack in the Box? Now, another thing I don't understand, and I want to show you guys some of these pictures, is to sit and listen to an investigator talk about the DoorDash order the size of the bag. I'm like, what the fuck does that matter? You guys have the receipt. There was 3 items, right? So if you go to DoorDash, okay. Let me get some pics here. Well, let's go like this. DoorDash is like, God, can we just please be left alone about all this shit? Okay. Let me show you something. Okay. This is just a sample. Picking up your order arrives between 2:39 and 2:44 p.m. Okay, you see there's the house, you see the store. Like this is the stuff that you can be literally viewing. Okay, do you see this Your Dasher Ray ad tip? You can call, you can text. See that right there? This is all the type of stuff. So like when you're going to talk about Xana's phone, if you're getting in and out of the app, the DoorDash app, Xana's extraction from her phone is going to show things like Xana's opening up the application. So what it will look like is, let me show you. I don't think it's going to be on this one. Every time that Xana makes a move from her phone is an outgoing command. And so every time she'd be getting into the app, opening it, looking at it, closing it down, all of those are marked per second. So what we would be seeing here is Xana getting in and out of this application, just like we saw in the Waze application in the Karen Reed, John O'Keefe case. And so Xana's phone is either going to have this or it's not. You understand? So in order for that text message to supposedly have come from Xana, it would be, I'm opening it up, right? That's going to show like at 2:53. I open up the app at 2:53 and 20 seconds. Okay. I'm zooming in and looking in to see physically where their car is located. Okay. Because I'm like, it'll say like I'm on the app. Then I get out of it, right? And then I'm contemplating on like, okay, am I going to message this person or what? And to message this person, I would go back into the app. So again, another timestamp. Then I would go to this right here when it pops up and you're in the app. And you can hit the call button, okay? Or you can hit the texting button. And that's what Xana would have to have done, is to hit this button and then write something in as far as like, are you having trouble finding it? But let me tell you what are you having trouble finding it is. That is nowadays when you go to like type something in, it gives you options like for like an email nowadays. I could go read an email and then go hit reply. And it already has like something already programmed where if I want to say, thank you, I received this message, have a good day. And I could just like click that and it will just send that as like a reply message to an email. The are you having trouble finding it is an automatic reply button, but it's also an automatic reply that DoorDash can send. Okay. And so I'm over here just like, Chris Holland, you do investigations. Why are you guessing in any of this? None of this is guesswork. Does Xana's phone have this shit? Yes or fucking no. And what I mean has this shit is it in her extraction? She has to go into this app, get out of this app. What type of user activity is happening on her phone from 2:15 until 4:15? And if I hear that it's just running in the background like TikTok, get the fuck out of here. That can be the most, that's ridiculous. That just runs. It has to be, I'm talking about opening up an application, looking at your text messages, scrolling, hitting somebody's name, then sending a text, or looking at your email. So you're getting out of this. There's the functionality of multiple things that a normal human being would be doing that's normal for Xana between the hours of 2:15 and 4:15, especially after making, and she's awake, a DoorDash order. Or is this more like, this is what circumstantial evidence would be? You'd be demonstrating to the jury by showing them after this supposed, 11:30 text, I'm not feeling well. Nothing else is on Xana's phone. Okay, until at 12:15, we have Xana calls Ethan unanswered at 12:15. So Xana's not feeling well at 11:30. Let's say that that's an outgoing text message. Then at 12:15, Xana calls Ethan unanswered. Then a text at 12:20, a text from Xana to Pistol Pete, you good? Then a picture taken from Xana's phone at, this says 1:38. A picture taken from Xana's phone at 1:38. Then it says, oh, Xana takes a picture with Jacqueline Bevelo, whatever her last name is. Jacqueline leaves Sigma Chi, and Xana and Ethan stay. And it's like, this happened at 2. Well, no, it didn't. That's wrong. That's when she uploaded it to Snapchat and put it in her friend's story. Okay, her fucking your story bullshit. All right. And the reason I know that this is fact is because when you have to say that it's in Beckner's supplemental report 10 that you're getting that information from, yeah, because it's not vetted. Go get someone's cell phone and see where the fuck that picture was taken. Work product. And then here's work product. Cooper Atkinson attempts to call Ethan 5 times on FaceTime, doesn't answer any of them. $2.15 DoorDash Jack in the Box ordered by Xana on page 2958 of Xana's phone. And if a picture was taken from Xana's phone, what was the picture of? It doesn't say that Xana's in the picture at 1:38. Again, you guys, this is just classic. I see, like, when you have all these people that are incorrect on Xana's home. Xana's home making DoorDash orders and nobody sees her. Bethany, Dylan, they're actually adamant that they're not home. That Ethan and Xana aren't home. Why are they so adamant of that? How about this? Why can't they just say, like, yeah, they were home, right? They were home, but they were in their room. We went up to Kaylee's. They sit in their room. And then what? Xana said, oh, I'm going to order DoorDash. You guys want anything? Oh my God, yes, give me that mac and cheese. What does Jack in the Box have that's mac and cheese? Anything? You guys are the Jack in the Box experts, not me. There's cheese fries. No mac and cheese. Because that's all I know is that Bethany was like craving mac and cheese. So again, we're just supposed to forget the fact that I would also want to take a look at people's financial records. If Xana and Ethan were passed out, right? And do we have shady ass roommates here? Meaning I can use Xana's phone, place my order, she's passed out sleeping. I don't have to pay for the order because it's going to run right to Xana's card, whatever you have as your card that's hooked up. So again, you go to I want to go back though to let me get a different photo. One second. Oh, you got to be kidding me. Okay, hang on. Son of a bitch. Okay, do you remember when Dylan's talking to Aaron? She's a comment about we can just leave. Okay, so there's a couple of things I want to show here. So according to, what's her name, Dylan, the way that the killer left was just crazy as far as she's concerned. But I want to show you guys something. All right. We got keys galore just like hanging out in cars. You guys remember this? Like just, I was like, wow, that's just crazy. Then, hang on. Okay, here we go. All right, what are the odds? I think I talked to you guys about this before, but I just have to remind us. All right, what are the odds that Molly is talking about new tires? New tires, remember that? I had to get new tires. Listen, think about when your dad or mom is in town. This is out of order of how I wanted to talk about today, but Jeff's in town. What's a mom or a dad like thing to do when you're in town? I'm going to get my daughter new tires because the tires on this car are whack, right? But I've never heard of a dad buying tires, okay, and not like putting them on though. You would just take it to the place and they do all of that for you. Okay. So I'm curious, where were these tires bought from? And that they just were in the back of the vehicle, because it's a more of a dad thing to say, I know that my daughter can't put these on. Okay. So where is she supposed to go and get this like handled? So it's crazy to me. Molly's talking about fucking tires. And here in the back of the car is tires. And, just leave it up to Molly to talk about something. Cheaper to buy the tires separately from the place he's going to install them. Yeah, but that's in college. You're not going to be doing it that way. I'm just telling you that just can't be that much cheaper to the hassle with it. And you have like, hey, you got to take your car now. We ordered them from this place or go what? Then they would have got delivered to the house. And now load them up. And now you're going to go get them put on by such and such. I mean, that just seems like a fucking hassle. And I need to make sure that my daughter fucking puts the tires on her car. So yeah, you're just going to go to wherever and get these put on and get new tires. But I think Jeff can answer this question for us, right? There's just no talks about it. Those are brand new tires, you can tell. Kay Schmidt gifted memberships. And you know what I love? I'm cracking up. Why are you cracking up? If you want to crack up, I'll show you something to crack up about. I'm cracking up that a dad says in a sentencing hearing that his daughter didn't feel well at 11:30 at night. That's news to us, right? She wasn't feeling well at 11:30 yet. Orders a DoorDash order, which has nothing but the most disgusting food fucking ever, at 2:15 in the morning. Because that's going to make me feel better. Snow tires. When I lived in Moscow, we always put snow tires on the winter. Yeah. I mean, if these are snow tires, I again, when you have a daughter, okay, I could see a dad saying, you're going to go to such and such place and they're going to put these tires on, you're going to go get your tires. I'm not going to, hey, I'm going to order them from this. And then when they come in, unless I'm going to take the car and do it for you or something like that. And then so I started thinking, would they ever have something, you remember that key that we all see that's just like chilling? Like, and it's like, well, no, because she would have just, like they did, they're just leaving their keys in their cars. Because I could see a dad saying, here, I'm going to order them and then I'm going to go get them put on for you. Because I'm doing nothing the week that I'm in town, so I'm going to do a bunch of dad things for you. Okay. But then again, here's the question, which is, why are the tires in the car still? These are brand new tires, unless we're going to be returning them. I mean, we didn't go with these ones. They would have already been taken care of because Jeff was in town for the week. So that really kind of confused me. I just try to put myself in the shoes of, I'm a parent, right? And when I was in school, what my parents did for me, when they would come to town, it was like, hey, Mom, do you want to wash all these clothes? Hey, Mom, I'm going to just bring home a bunch of of clothes. Moms are the best. Anyways, the cops just didn't give a fuck what these parents had to say. Why? Who knows their kids better than the parents? I get it. Once you get to college, you can lie to them. I understand that. But this man was in town the week leading up to his daughter's murder, and he was in town the night of his daughter's murder. I mean, come on. That's like, don't you think that he would be relevant? This man is so relevant, but the cops don't even put him on the list. They did an interview with him, and they don't put on the list that, hey, at 11:30, Xana and her dad talked in some capacity, whether it was text message, but she wasn't feeling well. Well, what was Jeff doing all week? Hopefully they were hanging out. So I think everybody should consider, when the cops did this timeline, that Bill Thompson was like, fuck you, Jeff. Fuck you, Jeff. The cops said, fuck you, Jeff. How you could take this any other way than them not putting on this timeline of relevancy here what Jeff told them about 11:30, for that not to be on the list, I think that's a big fuck you. Because of Lana, I've been following the boring Baker and Chud Machado all weekend. Oh, how do you like that? That'll keep you nice, and you might have to change your underwear a couple times. I don't believe that Xana wasn't lying. I don't even know if it was Xana that texted her dad. You guys, where my headspace is right now is that, wait a second. How do you know that Xana made that text message? Just like, how do you know that Xana placed that DoorDash order? When I have someone like Chris Holland coming out and saying, we don't even know where Xana was when the DoorDash order was placed at 12:15, I'm like, so all these people have ESPN. I call it ESPN, ESP. The girls are in the house wanting to get food. The reason that they don't bother with, what's his name? They ask Eric if he's driving at 2:10. He gets back to them at 2:13. And by 2:15, the button was pressed to hit send to Jack in the Box. And in the same time, it was received through DoorDash and saying, yep. And Molly's over here saying, yep, I'm taking that order. And you think that these people weren't all together? You got to be fucking high. Or that Xana's device was not accessible to the people that are looking to get food at 2:10, get a response from the dude at 2:13, but then they never respond to the dude, Eric. If they did, they didn't do it through Dylan's phone, right? And you don't think these people are all together, or you don't think that these devices are together. Now that's some circumstantial amazing shit. That here, because if Eric gets back to you, what are you going to ask him to do? Oh, we're going to pay him to go pick up food? From where? Eric was available. Eric got back to them at 2:13. But we all know that when you get in the DoorDash app, it's not like, okay, I'm in here and I just hit, like, you're asking everybody, hey, what do you want? What do you want? What do you want? Okay, boom, boom, boom. Hit send. And according to Chris, he doesn't go off of the receipt. He's like, did you see how big of a bag that was? That was more food than for one person. Wait, what? Wait, stop. You don't need to guess or do any of that. You're going to look at every order that's ever been placed in Xana's phone from Jack in the Box. This is her normal order. Think about it. When you order from a place, what are you normally getting? Your normal food. Like what you order from them, right? Maybe occasionally you'll add something that like, oh, I got, a freaking apple pie from McDonald's and I'll get that once in a blue moon or something like that. My normal order is this. He says the order was for more than one person, but then says, but we don't believe that Ethan ate it. All the food's supposedly gone, right? Why do you think it was for more than one person? 3 items? Why do you even think it was for Xana? If she just ate, you guys, at just after 4 o'clock, where would that be in the digestive process? If she was killed if we go off of them, if she eats it and starts eating it just after 4 and she's killed at like 4:15, 4:17, where would the food be in your system? Just listening to them talk, it's just all like guesswork. I don't know. I would have been asking for receipts. So can you pull me up what you were looking at when you were peer reviewing Dr. Turvey's work? That's what I'd have to ask. Can you please show me and pull up, the different parts when he was asking you, tell me that this was done by one person. Prove me wrong. Well, yeah, I can tell you how it was done by one person. That could have 1,000% been done by one person. We just have to stretch the period of time. And we have to stretch not only just the period of time, but people were killed at different times. This didn't all happen between that period of time. Ready, guys? Here it goes. Jack in the Box has had mac and cheese bites in the past, but they are not currently a permanent menu item. The chain first introduced cheesy macaroni bites in 2008 as battered deep fried triangles filled with macaroni and cheese. They were later revived in 2021 as mini Munchies mac and cheese bites as part of a limited time promotion. These bites were sold in different sizes and packages, such as mini Munchies mac and cheese bites, 6 bites with a buttermilk ranch dip for $3. That's exactly what it looks like it was on one of those plates. Mega Munchies mac and cheese bites, 12 bites with 2 dip cups for $5.65. Mini Munchies variety pack, 3 bites plus curly fries. Ooh, regular fries in a dip cup for $3. What? You got mini Munchies variety pack, 3 bites plus curly fries or regular fries, depending on which one you wanted, and a dip cup for $3. That's pretty cheap, isn't it? While these bites were available at participating locations during their limited time runs, they have since been discontinued. As of now, they are not part of the standard Jack in the Box menu, but they revived themselves in 2021. So the question is were they available in 2022? Let's take a look at, hold on. All these people need to get their facts straight. Jack in the Box fries up new mac and cheese bites. April 8th, 2021. Jack in the Box rounds out their tacos and sides menu by frying up new mac and cheese bites at participating locations. Oh, wait a second. Hold on. Hold on. Bethany sends a photo with message, get me some mac, to Xana, Ethan, Dylan, Kaylee, and Maddie, because it's Ethan's Snapchat messages. But guess what? Since they were able to get that from Ethan's, holy shit, back up. At 1:54, Bethany calls Maddie, no answer. They're driving. Okay. Bethany sends a photo with the message into everybody's group. They must have a group Snapchat for like the house, you know. So Ethan, Dylan, Kaylee, and Maddie, and Xana, and it was sent by Bethany. And it was a photo. Bethany sends a photo with a message that says, get me some mac. And it's in Ethan's Snapchat messages. That means that Ethan never opened that shit. Ethan never opened that at 1:55. Like I've been motherfucking said. Holy shit. That's the only way that you could have that. That's how they were able to get into Paw Paw's phone, and they had the snap message because his phone, when it had sent, they got into Paw Paw's phone and he had recorded it in Snap. And so it was there. Oh my God. Yes. Yes, Lana. Yes. Now we're talking. Where's this other one at? Snap message. Hold on. Kaylee sends a picture of her and Maddie at the corner club and says, Maddie just called me a bucktooth bitch to Dylan, Bethany, Xana, and Ethan. In the source, it says Snapchat message. Well, whose Snapchat message? It's normally labeling whose it is. Let's take a look at. There's another one. Ooh, Ethan snap messages. Oh, shit. Ethan sends Hunter Johnson a snap message. Drinking with Xana and Bethany, come hang with. 9:26. Ethan sends Hunter Johnson a snap message. Drinking with Xana and Bethany, come hang with. Ethan receives a notification from Erica. You're getting cheated on. Work product. Interesting. Oh boy. Again, thank you all. Douglas he's been a member for 21 months. Karen, golf metal cleats worn by Perp. I meant Chris. Okay. Allie's like, I meant Chris. Sorry. Too many dudes named Chris. I know. And then I'm like, I know you're not talking about Chris Watts. but thought that he mentioned the pic, not seeing it, but something about it being out there online. Yeah, I don't exactly. You guys, there is no picture of this at the door. I'm sorry, but I don't know where anybody's getting that from. In fact, here, I'm about to be making some phone calls today. Jen says, I'm going to turn one of you guys green. Thank you so much, Jen. Appreciate that. Kaylee was co-hosting a party that weekend. I'm sure I remember that. So she wasn't just there to be Dylan's plus one, huh? No, Kaylee wasn't co-hosting any party. Nope, that's not accurate. Sorry, wherever you got that from, that's just not accurate. Kay Schmidt turned 5 people green. Kay Smith, thank you so much. Sherry, been with you for a while. 35 months, Sherry. What do you think so far? 35 months. She also turned one person green. Is this one princess? Please deep dive on frat guys' parents that are judges, paralegals, lawyers, and how they affected this case outcome. Also, who are the 2 girls who blocked EC's phone on the night of the murders? One is, who he was blocked. I looked into those 2 names, by the way. Yeah, 2 girls blocked Ethan Chapin from social media. And I looked into these names, you guys. I think they're fake accounts. Okay. So something that the police were doing is they were making hot girl accounts. Like they had the pictures looking hot. And these were cops. And they were like messaging and trying to like get in groups and to do buys and sells of drugs. Okay. So for the police not to do follow up on it, by why Chris is talking about it, I asked him to be way more specific with like, what's some dates here? What do you mean they blocked Ethan? Like when? I told him, I was like, these names, I looked into them and I looked into accounts online that had those names. No. If not, they would have had to change the way that the presentation of the name looks now, because the stuff that I found, no way. Because I don't think you have to go look at people's parents. And you think you have to just look right at the police. Okay? This stuff that you would normally do in an investigation, like why would you ever assign somebody that's been with your department for 2 years as the lead detective? Well, after I did some case law research, it's because you get way more passes when somebody writes up a search warrant and they've never done it before. That it was just like, it's good faith exception rule. Fuck that. Like, this is bullshit. That's what I have come to realize, is that the reason that Payne was the lead investigator is to catch all the breaks from the judges down the road with these search warrants. And how I taught myself that was researching and looking into the Xana Gardner case based off of the case law that Florida was using, and for those cases, for that case, and seeing a reoccurring theme, which is why are you got like the biggest cases to hit your town and you're assigning rookies basically to run these? The fuck out of here. Why would you ever do something so dumb? Well, I figured out why. It's not to gain experience. It's to gain an upper hand with the judges for them when they're ruling on, when we have to prosecute this case and we're going to have to try to defend our position on why stuff is the way that it is. And it's, because they're new and they've never wrote an Apple warrant before, or they never, fuck that. I feel a little bit less crazy hearing someone else say this timeline out loud. It has been clear to me for a long time. This is from Common Sense. Ain't that common? I believe Bethany sent that to delay them coming home, but it didn't work. Are you talking about for the food. No, I think Bethany was hungry. I think these people were hungry. They cooked dinner around like 5 or 6, right? And then when they got home, I'm just like, are these people lazy? But I also noticed that Bethany doesn't use any app. She wasn't on like very few and far between like Venmos. So I don't know if Bethany would just like pull cash and give people cash to pay for stuff. But it's just like, if you're hungry, why aren't you just ordering the shit yourself? Bethany didn't have a car anymore. Okay, that's a new thing for Bethany. You know how much that sucks, having a car, and then you go from having one to not having one. That's the worst thing ever. So like that night, would Bethany have, if she still had her car and she didn't smash it, would she have drove to, I mean, why aren't they calling Sobros to take them to, what do you call it? To the grub truck. And I'm just like, no, it's Occam's razor. If they're all looking for food at 2:10, and then boom, Xana's phone is placing a fucking DoorDash order. And I hear Chris Holland talk about how big this order was, how big this bag was. Okay. And just because those stupid fucking wrappers, okay, weren't, for all we know, there could have been 4 or 5 more wrappers just because they weren't in the bag. Like, why are we laying out these wrappers? Why aren't we laying out the receipt of the order? Here's the order. This is all the items that were in that delivery. Why are we laying wrappers out? Like the dumbest shit. You know, we're going to be able to get the order. What the fuck was on this order? Here's the receipt of it. Here's all the items. Boom, done, deal. Why are we... You know, it's great. You want to take those photographs? Awesome. For your crime scene? Great. But that is not how I'm going to investigate the case to see what was ordered. I'm going to go off of the fucking receipt. And so I just think that, I mean, do they think we're dumb, or are they just bad at their jobs? Member for 9 months, baby daddy. Hi. Yeah, motherfucker. Member for 4 months. NC. Mountain Man, 89. Welcome. 4 months, been a long time. 4 months turns to 30 like that. Love it when you think out loud. You're an investigative powerhouse. You freaking rock. Thank you so much, Baxter, too. Yeah, you got to do a lot of thinking out loud, because you're just like, this is crazy shit that they put together. Wait, they think we're conspiracy theorists. The shit that they put together in this case, this is a big conspiracy theory. Like that, wow. Nobody else, all these, and we haven't even gotten to the biggest part of today. Besides the 11:30 like bombshell that we get, okay, sorry about that. You know, my secretary is over here just bringing the notes over here. Just kidding. So 11:30. That's not even the biggest thing. The biggest thing is they knew one day, if this went to, which they were like, hey, we have to have a successful prosecution, blah, blah, blah. It's going to go to trial one day. Even if it doesn't, they know that stuff is totally accessible through the public records requests, you know, the freedom to get that. They told the parents that the screaming that you are going to hear on the 1112 camera is from a domestic dispute. And that people were afraid to come forward with this information. What? Who was afraid to come forward? What do you mean a domestic dispute? How many people would be involved in a domestic dispute? You guys, this is, when I heard this, fell out of my chair. Fell out of my chair. You want to know why I fell out of my chair? Because how many people were in this domestic dispute? 7, 8? Yes. It was that people are afraid to come forward, number one, because of the whole, like, that they're going to get in trouble for like drinking or, you know, marijuana and blah, blah, blah. And so the cops had to like explain, like, listen, we're not out here for those reasons. Okay. And it's like, how does that go to like, okay, so now we can tell you about a domestic situation? A domestic dispute? What was the domestic dispute over, and where are those interviews? People coming forward and saying, yeah, that's us screaming on that you can hear because we're talking about, you know, someone's really pissed that they got the smaller room out of the 4 bedrooms, and we're arguing. I mean, what are we arguing about? Domestic dispute. I said, wait, what? Yeah. Hang tight. Who came forward and was telling people that there was a domestic dispute between a boyfriend and a girlfriend? You guys understand, Xana's stomach content showed she ate recently and was full. Ate recently and was full. From the time at her death, right? Do you remember when we're listening to all these frat guys in their interviews and we didn't think that they were that important, they were boring? What frat guys say that they interacted with Ethan at the Sigma Chi party? Remember, everybody was like, I didn't see him at the party. Do you guys remember this? I mean, am I the only person that's like remembering this? You guys remember when like they're interviewing these people and it was Van Leuven and he's talking and it's like nobody had seen Ethan at the Sigma Chi party. They were so vague about it. Yep. And I was just like, these are the most boringest interviews, right? But the reoccurring theme here is that I was like, what, all these guys are lying? Nobody was like hanging out and saw like Ethan. Like, where's Peter's interview? When I said, oh wow, the freshman person is saying like this person's over here saying, I did not. No, like I wasn't hanging out with him. Remember, like the Ann Taylor was gonna be calling to the stand, like Tim DeWolf and who else was he? basically the people that he went to that the formal with. Okay. This Darius Myers kid, DJ, right? What's he have to say about this? When's the last time he saw Ethan? And I think a lot of these people were talking about that they saw him at the formal, at the social, like at Hunga Dunga Brewery. And then remember Hunter Chapin says he went to bed early that night at 10. So he's putting himself out of, like, I didn't see my brother after, 10 p.m. But it's also like, well, so who's saying in any of these interviews that Xana, Ethan, how do we know that this Jacqueline girl that, uploaded and posted a video or a picture of them at 1:30, like, we're for sure that was taken that night with Xana? I'm saying, did they ever even look into any of this shit? No one saw them, right? Were they told to say that is my question? No, what I'm getting to is that you guys, if nobody saw them, nobody saw them. Remember all the mistakes that were even made when Bethany's like, oh, we all walked over. And then she's like, oh, Ethan and Xana, they didn't walk over with us. They came later, but they weren't too far behind. Remember Bethany saying that? And then I said, well, they weren't too far behind. Like, so they left in like 3 groups. Bethany and Maddie. Then Dylan's over here, like, not talking about the fact that she's like, I don't know. I can't really tell you about Ethan. I don't know if he came back. I can't tell you that. But she then goes by herself on over there and she meets up. Like, that's when she says she sees Maddie and she's basically getting a wristband. It was Bethany made sure to say that Ethan and Xana were alone in a room, but it's the apartment room. But that's when Dylan's putting them at the other place, at least Xana. And then you have the Hunters and the Emilys and the Josies of the world, right? None of them see them that night. And what you got to start putting on the table is nobody wants to say that they were the last people to see Ethan and Xana. Isn't that crazy? Why? Why would they think that they would be the last people? Like, if you just said whenever you saw them, like, hey, why does nobody want to put themselves around and near Ethan and Xana? Like, at any point from 6 p.m. on, 8 p.m. on. Maybe people don't want to say that they were at Ethan's apartment. That's like one of the most amazing answers that I see right there. Because they all know that shady shit went down. I mean, but we have Kaylee and Maddie on surveillance cameras. Like, there's surveillance cameras of them getting and arriving to, like, we know that they're alive. Physically, we know that they're alive up until 1:56 a.m. Like, we see them. We cannot say any of this for Ethan and Xana. None of it. So that's why it's like, for the police, when they were like, hey, whatever we accepted in the beginning, we're walking it all back now. And it's just like, yeah, why are you? But then when it comes to probable cause and you went back to what you were originally told, why? When you knew to walk it back, because there was something there that told you to walk it back. But then something came along and said, forget about this and go back to that. Do we know specific models of iPhones for E? I can get those. Yeah, we'll know those. Lana, if Ethan and Xana's phones were connected via Bluetooth to the Explorer, anyone in the car could respond or use the phone by just being in the car. Yeah, it would also show you. That's why, yes. You mean if they took the phone and like went into the car and then turned on the car, it would then connect to the Bluetooth? Is that what you're saying? And then so if their phone was to be like ringing or something, you could answer it, but they're not saying that any of that happened, but it is. I don't understand why Ann Taylor is so accepting of the fact that this time of the crime is the time of the crime, when there's all of these things that are saying like, hello, are you listened, you watched the same videos that we watched, and why couldn't this be happening earlier? And the answer is there's nothing that's saying that it couldn't. Doesn't matter what Dylan and Bethany are texting each other. Because if you're going to throw that out because it's just unreliable, then it's unreliable across the board. And you'd be able to just discredit them as it was. And that's exactly how you would approach the jury with it. Like, this is a conversation after people woke up from passing out drunk. And so if Bethany's calling and waking up Dylan, and then Dylan's just telling Bethany what she remembers, hearing as we heard from her, it could be a dream, right? What she means by that is that she doesn't remember what time that this happened. This could have been earlier. And that's what it looks like, is that it was earlier. And the state's case makes no sense when you're going to talk about collateral damage. That Ethan and Xana were just collateral damage. Well, then Dylan would be collateral damage. And Dylan would be dead if she was standing in that room like she says that she was. So if you throw out Dylan, if you throw out Dylan's statements, Bethany still heard what she heard. It's just Dylan's the one that's trying to tell her what it was that she heard. But maybe if you actually asked Bethany why she called Dylan of all people and not, Maddie, who you would have had a missed call from, or Xana, who you haven't seen that night come back yet, Dylan is asleep for what you think that Dylan went to bed, right? Because after the supposed I called Eric Gower and I went to bed type of thing. I mean, why did she call Dylan? And then their statements are, that's who we call when we're scared because we know the other person's going to be up. What the fuck is that? That doesn't even make any sense. I don't know why Chris Holland thinks that Xana's blood is in the kitchen. Does anybody else have any questions about that? Why does he think that? There is no evidence of that, of Xana's blood being in the kitchen, and that's where this started. I mean, when I heard him say that, I about fell out of my chair again. I don't know where they're getting this information from. Mind blowing. I still have not been given an answer on why is it that Maddie and Kaylee were harmed first. Why? Where is that coming from? What evidence is there to suggest that? There is none. There is no. The ME is going to testify that she cannot give an order of who was killed first, second, third, or fourth. So, where? Where the fuck is that coming from? If people say Dylan and what Dylan heard, someone crying in the bathroom, give me a break. As a juror, if you were told that those phone calls that began at 2:43 until 2:53, especially the ones by Maddie, I would focus in on the calls by Maddie, that she begins calling Jack D, and then she calls Xana, and then she calls Bethany. She never calls Dylan. Why? She calls everybody except Dylan. Why? Well, I'm not going to call somebody that either is A, like standing there with me, right? Or B, that I'm basically calling to tell somebody about that person and what they're doing or what they're saying. Or why can't it be that Kaylee and Maddie, upon getting that DoorDash, if it was handed off, and they're looking, and Maddie's looking to give it to Xana because her name is just wrote on it, and then she goes into that bedroom and it's a freaking what we see in the photos. Why can't it be that? Why can't it be that Dylan and Maddie, or not Kaylee and Maddie, were not going to be going along with what the fuck Dylan was saying? Like, oh my God, like we need to call the cops, or we need to, Jack D is the best evidence, in my opinion, when he says that Maddie does not call me. She does not call me. For her to call me, like, that is out of the ordinary and something's wrong. That's significant. You don't think that Ann Taylor would be able to, because it's all about narratives to the jury. So if you're going to sit here and say that people were collateral damage, right? Well, why couldn't Maddie and Kaylee be collateral damage? Because, I mean, think about it. I don't think Kaylee is a dumbass. And if Kaylee's over here questioning, like, if she already thinks maybe like Dylan's off a little bit, right? And then Dylan's talking about all this, crazy shit. Like, oh my God, like, Kaylee knows what time Kaylee left to go to the bar, and so does Maddie, right? And they left to go to the bar, And if they know that when they left that Dylan was still in that house, Dylan, we left. What the hell? Like, when you left, did you leave the doors open? Did you lock up? Like, what's going on here? How is Xana and Ethan, like, what's going on? I have no idea. And they start, I don't know, having a conversation, and Kaylee's like, wait, what? Kaylee's not buying it. Kaylee's not buying something. I don't know. I'm just throwing this out there. You know, what story, if Xana and Ethan and Maddie and Kaylee were still here, what story would they say happened that night? I also noticed that I want to talk about the fact that Maddie had all her rings on. Me and Bella went at this last night. Okay. I said, Maddie had on a thumb ring, an index ring, and the thumb ring was like a double like slider. And then she had another ring on her right hand, a ring finger. I said, who goes to sleep with all those rings on like that? If you're planning on going to sleep, you're going to wear all those rings to bed. You know, normally you like take them off and they'll be right on your like nightstand, you know, as well as like your watch or whatever. Only true friends of Maddie's would know this. Maybe her parents, okay? But was Maddie a ring? Would she wear her jewelry to bed? She got changed. She was in, you know, totally different clothes, right? So she gets in her pajamas. It wasn't like she was in the same outfit that she went out in or anything like that. So I'm just curious if Maddie was a ring wearer. So like when people want to say like, oh, they went to bed at 2:53, like they were in the same bed. You guys, when you're drunk, okay, if you can get yourself into the clothes that you're wearing, like Maddie had on, she totally changes her clothes, gets into her pajamas. I'm just curious, was she a ring wearer to bed? That's all that. I don't care about the drunkenness. I don't care about anything. Like if something's going to agitate you, you're going to take that shit off. Just like, are you a sock wearer when you go to bed? So when I saw that Maddie had those rings on, you know, it's like she got out of her clothes. She has her rings on still. Then what? She goes downstairs to take the dog out, supposedly, allegedly. Which again, the only people that are telling us that is Bethany. Okay. But come on, man. Why isn't Xana answering her phone when Maddie calls at 2:51? She just ordered food at 2:15. Let's say that she even misses the call. Did she call her back? No, we don't. The cops don't show any of that. And what you'd want to show is you'd want to show that shit. You'd want to show that she called back or that there's evidence that then she texted or hey, where's that DoorDash? Is it here yet? I don't know. All the normal shit that you see, all these other cases using all this digital evidence to determine everybody's final steps and movements. And we don't got dick in this case when it comes to digital evidence with any of these victims. How are people accepting that? How is anybody accepting that shit? I know I'm not accepting that. I want every single person involved in this case, which there is more than one. I want their asses. You want to know why? Because even more so than any other case, you want to know why? Because they thought that they could do this while the world was watching. You want to know what they're going to do when nobody is watching in cases? Come on. They were lying to people's parents. Their kids are murdered, and your cops and prosecutors are lying to people's parents, sisters, brothers. Did my brother or sister? Are you kidding me? And it's not. That's a fact. It's a fact that they lied. They tried to separate these parents and not let them be in a cohesive unit about going to trial. And they did it by lying about the circumstances. These kids were not sleeping and didn't feel any pain. To read those autopsies and to see that the Emmy was going to testify to how this was so painful. Are you kidding me? Like, who does Bill Thompson think he is? Who does Ashley Jennings think she is? Who do these cops think they are? Unbelievable to me. And they are horrible. They are horrible at their jobs. The Idaho State Police suck a bag of dicks. Okay? Hey, just start taking someone's phone and playing around with it, doing things with it. Because guess what? The cops in Idaho, as long as there's a phone, being used, yep, you're still alive. Bunch of fucking ass clowns. They did in the Brian Drake case, and now it looks like they've done it here. 2 years apart, same investigators. They can't fucking see this. And I'm like, well, no, they can't see it because they're part of it. Why would they ever cover? You guys, they're not covering. They're covering for themselves. You cannot sit here and tell me that on the night that this happened, the 2 nights out of the year that they ever use some federal grant, okay, and they pair up with people, meaning other agencies. So was WSU involved in this? Were there people from that, department here in plain clothes? All these questions, if they were not on the mind of Ann Taylor, that sucks. Because if you think that your client was framed, then you have to be looking at the police departments. Okay? Because civilians can't pull off the framing the way that you would think. You would need the police the people can frame you, but the police either have to look the other way or help cover it up. That's what the police would be involved in. That's, or it could just be the police all the way around. If you believe that your client was framed, if you believe that sheath was placed and planted there, okay? If you believe all of that, right? So then you best find out like a motive why. And why him? He can't just be some nobody. What normally people do is if they're going to plant evidence, like in the Karen Reed case for me, what they do is they take somebody that they think is guilty and they just plant more evidence on somebody to like railroad that person. And that's what I saw in the Brian Kohlberg case when I saw that they lied about the cast. You're trying to place him places that he wasn't. Why do you need to do that when you already have the supposed so solid of a case? Well, we really didn't have so solid of a case. We had to lie about a lot of things. That's nuts to me. Remember when Brian Ent went to Sigma Chi and asked the frat president if Xana and Ethan were there that night with no comment back? I just reposted on X and tagged you in it. Thank you. Yes, I do remember that. And they said that they've already talked to people and they're going to leave it at that. Yeah. So I guess my question here today is we're going to end it here right around the 2 hour mark, is that Jeff's the only person that knows. Did you talk to Xana that night or was it through a text? It just seems like the police knew what to stay away from. The Chapins, 2:00 was a really dark hour. Not 4:00. 2. For the longest time, I thought that it was 2:00 was the darkest hour, was because a decision was made, like that Ethan was going to spend the night at Xana's, and he made the decision at 2, and so that was like a dark hour. Like if he just makes a different choice, then that doesn't happen, type of thing. Then you start hearing all the audio on the cameras at 1112, and it's like, God dang. Now they're saying that the audio is a domestic dispute between a boyfriend and a girlfriend. Which boyfriend and girlfriend? Where were they living that they got into this domestic dispute, and then it's heard on the 1112 cameras? That's funny that Bethany and Dylan never mentioned and weren't asked about a domestic dispute. If they could hear people like just screaming at 2:00 in the morning, 2:30, 3:00, how come Bethany and Dylan never mentioned the fact that all this screaming that's going on, and they don't say they didn't hear anything all night? I mean, come on. They were never asked any. It was softball land out there. Softball balls all day. Tell me what you got out of Dylan and Bethany's interviews. Why don't they ever ask, hey, were you aware that, hey, did any of you guys use anybody order pizza that night? Like jog their memory somehow, like without leading them. Hey, when you get home after you guys go partying, do you guys normally eat? You guys talk about popcorn or whatever. What about other people? Maddie and Kaylee, you said they got some at the grub truck. Okay. What about Bethany? What'd she eat? Did you see her eat at all? What about Ethan and Xana? And then they just, nothing. That Dylan was setting up an insanity plea. She was doing something, right? That's crazy. Pretty much nothing to see here, right? Pretty much at 4 a.m. Let me just tell you what happens. How convenient, though, to just say that there was somebody else in our house. We didn't do this. Like, that's what everybody always says. And, every domestic dispute that ends in like a wife dead or a husband dead, right? It was, dude, somebody else was here. The one-armed man. High knees. Oh, look over there. Look over here. Dylan was setting stuff up. No doubt about it. This is nuts to me. This is nuts because they knew this so early on, and you're hearing all of these things. Like, Detective Gooch, you've been doing this for how many years? And Dylan just saying this stuff to you. Come on, do an interview. Come out and say the truth on what you think about what Dylan was saying to you. Absolutely what? Fucking crazy. Say it. I've never done an interview like that in my entire life. Say it. And then you have somebody that switches from using text messages to then getting into apps. If that's anybody else, they're like, you're trying to conceal your communications. Then Ann Taylor's over here saying we have evidence that there was shit deleted. And then we just have to ask ourselves this last part, which is, why in the world then wouldn't Brian Colbert go to trial? You have all these things. Even if you lose, you're going to have all these ways to appeal it, right? But Ann and Brian talking, okay, and it pissed off every expert to the point of like, we set our schedules like this, we have our calendars like this, we're going to trial. Based off of the evidence, like, look at this, like, wow. And then boom, it was like, what the hell? It's not a 360 because then you'd be in the same. A 180 happens. And Turvey's like, I have no idea why. And is like, basically saying that Ann Taylor's tanking the case, right? More or less. I mean, I don't know, man. But these mac and cheese bites, they came back for a limited time back in 2021 in April. Were they still on the menu in 2022? Look at these. The Mega Munchie and mac and cheese bites options comes with double the amount of Mega Munchies, 12, and 2 buttermilk ranch dip cups. And guess what? You can get this variety pack and you get yourself some curly fries, man. All that. Look at that. Yummy. Blech. Jack in the Box rounds out their tacos and sides menu by frying up new mac and cheese bites at participating locations. God, I don't even know how people eat that stuff. A video by Open Mind Perspective suggests that KG and MM called Jack D because Murphy was injured, according to a photo posted by BF showing Murphy bleeding. Open Mind Perspectives is a liar. So that's what I think of that. She tried to steal someone's work product. So that's what I think about that. Open Mind Perspective tried to screw out the Azet girl or Industries, the Asget industry girl. That's what I think about that. Same thing that J for Justice did to Sleuthy Goosey and tried to claim a timeline as her own. Okay. These fucking worthless dump sacks. Absolute fucking idiots out here. Anybody that listens to J for Justice is an absolute fucking moron. Okay. That woman is the laziest human being I've ever personally encountered in my life. Yes, I personally witnessed her committing a felony. Didn't witness her committing it. Witnessed her confessing the felony to me on a telephone call when we were on a business trip in Colorado. And I said, "Are you out of your wait? What did you do? You mailed yourself weed to Florida from Colorado, and you used the address of the hotel that I was at? You dumb bitch." I said, "Bye. I'll never talk to you again." Girl was at a dispensary every other fucking day. That was in 2021. So, yeah. I don't fucking hang out with criminals. Did you guys know about that? Yeah. If you guys didn't know, it's fact. Oh, and by the way that she got caught is they intercepted her package. Yeah. The authorities. And then the Open Perspective girl was making it like she was creating all these 3D models, and it was the Asget industry girl. So yeah, I have an issue with people that lie about their work and it's not their work. Silly girl, Jenny from the vlog, what's up? You know that's the right shit. Okay. And now she's out here saying that the girl from Web Sleuth is a fucking murderer, basically, and saying that she killed her best friend. I don't got time to deal with Jay's shit, but she's fucking wrong. Okay. And the receipts that Jay's producing is all a bunch of shit. And I don't know why anybody goes at people like that. That's just fucking sick, disgusting. And who goes to CrimeCon to wear meta glasses and spy on people? Really weird behavior from grown ass adults. Okay. CrimeCon should have been used as an amazing social event for the consumer, the people that are content creators, the people that are producers, all of the amazing work that gets done each year. That's what's supposed to be highlighted. So it's really unfortunate what people are choosing to use CrimeCon for. People are paying a shit ton of money in tickets to go to these events. Okay. Bunch of fucking asshats. Little fucking crybabies. Jenny from the blog says they're all crazy. Yeah. When you get to say like I have no idea what you're talking about, like I'm like, yes, keep it that way. Okay, because it's not true crime. They're out there committing true crimes. And everybody's all jealous of it. Like I'm just like, dude, focus on your life. Focus on what you do. Why do you give a fuck about what other people do? Why do you count other people's money? You get the fuck on, move on. If you, whatever you want in life, go get it. Go be a go-getter. Really ridiculous. My vegetarian here says, I told to my husband, I think I said, I talked to my husband. I must have been falling to keep notes from when I could say if anyone besides Bethany confirmed seeing them there. Clearly I was falling, but wasn't alone and being confused. Yeah, 1000%. 1000%. Like this whole timeline of Xana and Ethan, it's warped as shit. This is why eyewitness testimonies mean nothing to me. You know, sorry. When we have other ways to determine things. I think somebody put up a poll not too long ago where someone said, do you think it's, DNA versus digital? What's more? Well, I'm like, listen, you can never prove when DNA was put somewhere, like for someone's DNA to be there, right? Especially on a foreign object. Digital is all timestamp. You know when a person would have been somewhere because of an actual timestamp. So for me, digital evidence is becoming, I think, even more reliable than DNA, because a lot of crimes are committed by people that know each other or are around each other a lot, things like that. So DNA is going to be there. But your digital footprint right now, man, I think that was the most significant piece in the John O'Keefe, Karen Reed case that, for me, I think Karen had a big hurdle to get over with when John's phone stops moving. And not only does it stop moving, but the pocket state, this new way that they're able to determine that the phone didn't come out of being covered by complete darkness. And that's why they call it pocket state. And that to me was, I would love for them to do more tests on that, because I think in the Idaho4 case, if that software like they used, and they have, it's available, it's Cellbrite, why aren't we using this software on the victims and the especially the victims' phones? I mean, they didn't even get into Kaylee's phone. Dylan's definitely lying, because Dylan has all this time on her phone that she's walking around, or at least the phone is, okay? So somebody is walking around with Dylan's phone at times that she's saying that she's not doing any of the sort. And they're also going up flights of stairs when she says that she never went up there. I mean, these are lies. Just lies. Lies. If those were guys, let's say that the people that were dead were all guys and one girl, and the roommates were guys, how would this have been handled? How would this have been handled? If anybody says the same, now you damn lie to yourself. You can keep lying to yourself, but if Bethany and Dylan were dudes and it was 3 guys and 1 girl dead, this would have been investigated different. And it's interesting. Why did Bethany think she was going to get arrested if she came to Idaho ever again? That's so weird, don't you think? But when you lie to it's a crime to lie to the FBI. So if you lie to the FBI, it's a crime. But you don't need to be in Idaho for that, right? I mean, it's federal. Very crazy. There was totally a cleanup. And the people that think it was just Brian Kober and Brian Kober alone, when did the cleanup happen? And if it was Brian Kober and Brian Kober alone, how did he manage in such a short period of time to not transfer any blood from Kaylee or Maddie into the room of Xana's and to transfer any of that blood and have any mixtures between Xana or Ethan? Explain that to me. How did they do that? How did he do that, rather? How? Well, he changed clothes. He changed complete outfits, not just once, but twice. When? Because when he came down, he smudged and wiped and, So when did he change his clothes before he went into Xana's room to kill them? Was he just changing in the middle of like the kitchen? Was he just changing in the middle of the living room? What if it comes out that Brian Kober was doing buys and sells undercover for the WSU police department? What if that comes out? You guys know when someone's like a CI like that, where do you think that's going to be like on record? If someone's just doing them, like, how do they document that they're using like a confidential informant? These are the questions that I would love to ask people that want to debate that it's only one perpetrator and the perpetrator is Brian Kober. I'm never going to debate Brian Kober's innocence or guilt because that's not what Brian Kober said he did, and he wants to say that. Until the moment that Brian Kober wants to say something different, Brian Kober can say that, and you should accept it. But I'm allowed to accept that, but also look at the crime scene and say, I don't give a fuck what you say about that. You didn't do this alone then. You know what I mean? Just like whoever would be like, no one person did this alone and during the time frame that they are alleging that this happened. Sorry, kiss my white ass. We'll see on the next one. And why you would ever believe people that have already lied to you is beyond me. I would never believe anybody ever again if they lied to me, unless they gave me a really good reason why they lied to me. We didn't have the heart to tell you about Kaylee's injuries. Like, how do you say that? Give me something that's really, really deep. Okay. But you lied to me about us going to trial. You lied to me about this plea deal. You lied to the parents and separated us so that you could have two parents saying, yeah, let's go with the plea deal, and two parents that weren't on board with that. You don't get passes on that shit. And so I'm supposed to trust these people to say there was only one person when the evidence shows that this could not be one person in that time frame. And why didn't the crime scene investigators, in terms of your CSI team, whoever the fuck would be in charge, Talbot, say, hey, we're going to keep swabbing until we can find Kaylee or Maddie's blood in that second floor bedroom, so that we can exactly what we think happened here, one person. You guys, there's no blood of Kaylee and Maddie in Xana's room anywhere. How? You're wearing the same gloves. You said it's the same fucking knife. How is that possible? And guess what? It's not. It's not. Those gloves, after being upstairs with Kaylee and Maddie, were drenched in blood. No? Even if there would just be a little bit, you're going to tell me that, wow, this person had just such amazing odds. They just kept on like, whoop. They not only did I not transfer any blood, I was able to clean it up and I didn't get any blood in Xana, that downstairs room. And then I was able to somehow get these roommates. They didn't call 911 for like 9 hours. Like, woo. Wow. And then they even saw me and then they're texting and they still don't do anything. Come on. If you guys want to believe that, you totally can. I'm not going to believe that. Dylan, open, close, open, close, open, close, open, close, yelling their names, calling, texting. Yeah, Dylan, guess what? You didn't do dick until Bethany called you first at 4:19. And they lied to the grand jury and said that Dylan called first and that Dylan alerted everybody to this. Absolutely trash. Absolutely craziness. Everything that Ann Taylor put in, okay, there was prosecutorial misconduct. They 1000% misleaded the grand jury. They let people lie on the stand. Fuck all. That's what's, and then judges are just allowing this shit. Like judge, fuck off too. And this is not because I want crazy murderers running around the place. There's a right way to get somebody. And it's not just do it the right way. And then you're not going to have all these issues. Or maybe when you're realizing, when you're investigating a case, if it's organically growing like it should, you start seeing all these issues. And you're like, you just keep ignoring all these issues. And the phone shut off at this time, but it really didn't. Like, but let's just lie about that. And we have to lie about all these things. Why? Maybe Brian Kober went there earlier. Maybe he put his phone on maybe there's some person that's involved that was taking his phone and doing whatever with it. They didn't take any time to do anything. And it was, like Ann said, they already had him picked out. But how did you already have him picked out? That means you had to know him what beforehand? What? Somebody coughed up his name within the first couple days? Who would that be? Dylan or Bethany? I mean, you even have Dylan, for heaven's sakes, talking about the layout of the house, and somebody would have to know the layout of this house and know where people were sleeping and shit like that. You got Dylan saying that. And you got investigators just saying, yeah, yeah. And just letting Dylan just say whatever. Yeah. Okay. And, okay. I mean, I think Bill Thompson's a genius because he put Ashley Jennings in every fucking fire. So Bill Thompson, literally, Ashley Jennings is the one that's questioning Dylan during the grand jury. Ashley Jennings is getting her hands dirty for big old Bill Thompson, because Ashley Jennings wants that position one day. I mean, Bill Thompson, Ashley Jennings made you his bitch. All right. When I saw that, okay, you're the one writing up these search warrants. You're the one talking to, Nick Balance and Mowry. And now you're questioning Dylan at the grand jury. You are a fucking fool. All right. What does it matter if, so let's say that the phone didn't turn off for like 7. What does it matter? Cars just can't turn around. Ashley, y'all have a camera. If the car just turned around, where is it? Just show that. Hey, we thought we had it here and this was really, but actually here it comes back. If cars just can't turn around, Ashley. Well, yeah, you have the footage though, right? Is there a car just turning around at some point 7 minutes later? Here he comes flying through. You guys just act like cars just can't turn around. Ashley Jennings, God, would I just love to go pro se against your girl. I would just absolutely love it. Just so I can say, Ashley, cars and people can just turn around. Don't you just know that? Ashley Jennings, man. Prosecutor of the Year. Where's her awards? Love to see you still doing your thing, Lana. Proud to have you. Been watching you from the beginning. You are the only one that excelled. Thank you, Jenny from the block. Yep, you've been around for it all. Yeah, told you the cream always rises to the top. Watch. Oh, fuck. Thank you so much for that, Jenny. Hopefully you and your man, your husband, you guys are doing well. Lana, you are proving case by case that all you need to solve a case is an accurate timeline. Yeah, I just need the information. That's all I've ever asked for. And we've been trying to get this data. And guess what, guys? They've done everything in their power to try to keep the information from us. And it's like, because if we have the information, we'll put it together. It's no different than the Moore case. That discovery, oh my God. I mean, I found Jennifer Drake breaking into her husband's phone the night before the murders. Literally, she's trying to break into his phone. He has some app on it called iPro, whatever, or Hidden Eye app, whatever it is. And when you enter the passcode wrong, it takes a picture of you. Well, I mean, it just takes a picture, whatever catches in the camera, box. And it doesn't just come out the one side, it's on the reverse side too. So it also tries to document, like, if there could have been, if you have it like this up, let's say, and there's somebody standing there with you, boom, it would have got them. It would get the carpet. It would get the ground. Jennifer Drake tried to break into his phone 5 times, and it shows you what password they thought it was. And so the different times entering it, and each time just boom, boom, boom. I find all of this shit when I go through her extraction. And I said, look at this. She lied. First of all, Brian Drake had a passcode on his phone. She said that she told the police that he didn't have one on his phone, and he shouldn't have had one when you guys, got the phone. Well, he had one on the night before his murder, and she's trying to break into his phone. I mean, not Dan Moore, this chiropractor. She is. She has him on Life 360. She is literally stalking her husband to the point of she has no trust in this relationship, and whatever the hell he's doing, okay, she's trying to monitor, and then she's lying about their past and that he was banging other people. There's questions about, like, who was taking pictures of their daughter in the bathtub just not too long before his murder. All this stuff. This is motive to kill. And then $1 million life insurance policy. She called the life insurance people 13 times. She was given a check within 3 or 4 weeks. That's unheard of for $1 million. There was nobody arrested in this case for 6 months. How is an insurance company paying out $1 million? Because Mike Van Leuven told the insurance company that, oh, Jennifer Drake's being so cooperative. What the fuck does that have anything to do with anything? Being cooperative doesn't make you not a suspect. I've never seen, and then that's how she got that money, because the insurance company won't pay out until they talk to the police, and it had to be more than just that she was cooperative. So she's not a suspect. No. They said she was not a suspect. And boom, given $1 million. And then she was asked in a deposition, where's that mill? Who'd you give it to? I don't know. It's all fog. I don't know. I got that check and then I just, blah, blah. Like, girl, what? It just came in the mail, my $1 million check. I have no idea where I gave it, where it's at, what it's doing, nothing. I have like a financial advisor. Who? What? You have what? Wild shit. But this is Idaho. And so when everybody was like, why is Lana covering that case? I covered the shit out of that case because a man was framed. And the man that was framed, Dan Moore, was framed by the same people that are working this case 2 years later, the Idaho4 case. And I'm like, holy shit, look at these investigators. Gary Tolson, Andy Huddle, Leslie Lehman, Mike Van Leuven, Ed Jacobson. It's the same fucking people. I solved that Brian Drake case. Like, if I was a prosecutor, I'd be able to prosecute Jennifer Drake and beyond a reasonable doubt to show the jury that her and Aldora Gatchel and Caleb Kokona-Zara were involved and planned the demise of her husband. Because it's in the discovery that the cops have. They watch all my shit. How are you not saying to yourself, oh my God, and then instead, Dan Moore and Karen Moore get hit with a $15 million civil judgment? Are you all high? How did that happen? Well, because Dan Moore was threatened. If he comes to Idaho and tries to defend himself in the civil suit, that they're going to arrest him. They're going to rearrest him for murder. What? Yeah, that's what his fucking attorneys told him. That's insanity. Rearrest him for murder? Oh, what new evidence do they have? What evidence are they going to provide? Because all that confession was thrown out because it was a violation of his Miranda. They can't use that ever. So do I believe that the Moore case is essential to the Idaho4 case? Abso-fucking-lutely I do. It's the same damn investigators and their same shitty ass ways that they think that they can investigate cases. They are either totally, absolutely incompetent, okay, or they're incompetent and corrupt, right? Because it's just either you're incompetent, you're corrupt, or you're both. And that's what we're dealing with here. Nick Balance found Lori Vallow missing children buried in Chad Daybell's backyard in Idaho. Anthony Immel discovered the Boston Marathon bombing terrorist attack, says Betsy Ross. That's funny that you bring up Nick Balance with the Lori Vallow case, because everything that they did in the Lori Vallow case actually was going to be used in the Idaho4 case against Nick Balance. About like, hey, this is how you went about doing this, right? This way. That's not what you did in this case. You actually went against the grain and the norms. Like, you're deviating from your normal practice. Okay. So, and Anthony Immel, all this you're going to get him testifying to in this case was this, the identification. And he's going to talk about the fact that he gave up 8 to 9 different make and models. And then the way that he was going to be cross-examined is in what order were you given these pictures? What cameras angles were they from? Who provided you the material so that you can walk through this timeline of when you changed it from this to this to this. So it was going to be really, really interesting. But the person that was going to ruin it, though, for the FBI was a man by the name of Hill, who knowingly lied in a report when he's calculating the time that the vehicle was from the Main Street camera, 1331, to the Ridge Road camera. Again, I just don't know how FBI agents don't know how to add and subtract time. But basically, the car couldn't have been where they're saying the car was, because it can't be showing up on a camera that's further past your one point at a time that's before this point. So point A and point B, if you're on point B before you get to point A, there's a problem. And that's the problem in this case, is that they knew it. So, and it was either going to come out that the FBI is going to say, we got this information from Moscow, or we did it ourselves. And I think what was going to happen here is that the FBI was not going to be backing Moscow. And the FBI was going to be saying that Moscow gave us this information, okay, off of this information, which we didn't vet because that wasn't our role. But the question is was Ann Taylor going to be able to handle that? Was Ann Taylor prepared for trial like I believe Diane Menashe or Jose Baez would be prepared? And the answer to that is absolutely not. You know, I don't see Diane Menashe telling Brian Colbert to say he killed 4 people, A, if he didn't, and B, if he's still maintaining his innocence, and C, which Ann Taylor believes that Brian Colbert did not kill 4 people. So then how the fuck are we here? Because why are you ever, like, that's an oath. I think you're violating your oath. But lawyers do it every day when you're taking a plea deal. Here, I'm pleading to this because that's why I guess he wanted the Alford plea, is that the evidence, I will admit that the evidence against me is strong enough to convict me, but I'm not saying that I killed anybody. And they wouldn't offer him an Alford plea. And I think that should tell you everything that you need to know about where the mindset was of Ann Taylor and Brian Koberger. And Hippler, I have no idea if Hippler knows that. He is not privy to like the discussions, right? But if somebody's asking for an Alford plea, it's because they're conceding that the evidence that they have against me is strong enough to convict me, but I'm not saying that I killed the 4 people or whatever the case may be, like, you know, that I did it. But the evidence against me is you're conceding to the evidence. And I'm over here like, I don't even think an Alford plea, like, why are you conceding to any evidence? Because this is all, there's half of the shit's manufactured, you know? And so when people say, oh, Lana, why do you think that you're smarter than an attorney? This isn't about who's smarter. This is about what you can find out of the material and how your brain works. And Jill Bolton had the same material that I had. Jill Bolton didn't take the time to find any of the shit that I found. Same material. Jill Bolton didn't find the hidden IAP Pro in the Brian Drake case where Jennifer Drake's breaking into the phone or attempting to and has pictures of her doing it the night before he's murdered. So it's no different. So it's not, I don't compare myself like that. I compare myself to, listen, I will find the material. I will, and if I can't find it, it doesn't exist. So give me the material and tell me what it is that you're, so if someone's saying to me, I did not do this, I did not kill these people, or I did not kill this person, or I didn't do that, whatever you're saying. Okay. And then I see what the state is using against you. And I see what they're staying away from. And I go and I dig for how the case originated. Like on day 1, day 2, day 3, like what are they doing? And then how are they all of a sudden over here? When anomalies are coming up and it's like you're recording everybody's interview and then all of a sudden you don't record Dan Moore's first interview. Wait, what? Why? Back in March, you're recording everybody. How does his not make it on a recording device? That's a problem. That's like everybody else that's being interviewed is being recorded. He wasn't. That's weird. Well, I think it's because of whatever he said that they didn't want it to be on a recorded device, right? Because I always wondered, well, why'd they wait so long to go and just one day ask Dan to come down to the police department and not ask him any questions, but just say, we know that you did this and we want to know why, because this is his first degree murder or is this second degree murder? Like, Was it an act? Were you just trying to scare him? And so you shot through the window because you weren't trying to kill him, but you're just trying to scare him? Because that's a big difference. Or is this premeditated? Because we got you driving around and circling right before the shooting. Dude, that's the same thing that they say that they have in the Brian Kohlberger case. A vehicle, a white one, they're saying a white truck in this case, a white Honda Elantra in that case. And I'm over here like, God, if these aren't similar in what they're going off of. And yet they're ignoring all the phone shit. They never got Eldora Gatchel's phone. They never got her brother's phone. They never downloaded them. They never extracted them. They never re-interviewed them. They interviewed them together. After even having an eyewitness give a complete description of Eldora's brother, a little Hawaiian guy, dressed in all black with a silver vest and a beanie on and a goatee. It's pretty descriptive. That's who he saw running from the building after the gunshots were heard. Not a white 65-year-old male who can't run with gray hair and pale as fuck. Why did they not go and get Eldora Gatchel's phone records? Then Eldora says that after she left the doctor's office, the chiropractor, she went to Super One supermarket. Well, that's funny. So did other people. They had the best surveillance cameras there. Why didn't they go and get those surveillance cameras to see what time Eldora Gatchel and what vehicle she arrives in? They went there the next day after the murders and met with a different person to interview them. And they're in the parking lot of the Super One grocery store. And they don't walk inside and say, hey, Isaac Funderburg, who was the eyewitness that saw him running, he said he had to go to the Super One market to grab ketchup or mustard because they were grilling out burgers or something. And so he went there. Okay, so you have like every reason under the sun to go and get the Super One cameras. What does ISP do? They don't go and get it on purpose. Why, Lolana? Because it would show that Eldora Gatchel, when the pilot arrives, who was really driving it, who truly gets out of the car. And then what other vehicle actually comes there and meets them? The old green bluish Explorer. Who was driving that vehicle? But this is the same thing that Ann Taylor was saying, is where are these cameras that are at the east, west, south, and north entrances of the city of Moscow to show where this white Elantra is coming from? It had to enter into our little bubble here in Moscow at some point, and it's got to be on a camera before it's just in the middle of the road on Indian Hills Drive. Funny, we don't have that. Just like in the Drake case. Wild shit. When the cops know what's going on, the cops know what to bury. The cops know what to not go and get. That's what this tells me. These two investigations are very similar in that. So happy to be a member of such a great channel. Thank you so much. Legally guilty, factually innocent. I love the name. 13 months. Thank you. Make yourself known, y'all. Hell yeah. All right, guys. 11:30. The cops say Xana's dad is not worthy of putting on our timeline. How crazy is that? We're going to get into this domestic dispute tomorrow morning at 9:30. I'm going to lay out, these are all the people that were interviewed from each of the different fraternities and the neighbors in the area. And so who could this domestic dispute be between? And where are any interviews about anybody being a part of it, hearing it, seeing it? And it's just not there. But why is Jeff's 11:30 interaction with his daughter not on the timeline of the police that they turn over to Bill Thompson? All right. Thank you guys so much. See you on the next one. Thank you, moderators. Appreciate you guys.